Good morning, everybody. I'm going to be covering Are My Data Healthy? My name is Mary Kuchenbrod. I'm the VP of Data Operations here at Arcadia, and I'm excited to talk through some of what makes data healthy and fit for use. So first of all, what does it mean to have healthy data? And then why does that matter in population health and in value-based care? What are the components of having a data analytics platform and a high quality one that enable you to take care of your patients in novel and innovative ways? So when we think about the health of data, we think about really three aspects of that. What's the type of data that you're working with, the system that it originated from, its purpose, its contents, as well as the timing of that data. How often are you receiving it? How far back does it go? And the transformation of that data. What has happened to that data to make it ready for use? What computations have been run on that data? What analytics are being run in order to add enrichment to that data and that information about that patient? When we think about type, the main categories that we can break this down into are EHR data, claims data, and ADT data. EHR data being what you're recording in your doctor's office, in those visits, really rich information, but often less structured information. Some of that data from your EHR visit is coded, is a specific value, is a specific code that means a specific thing, and any system that's integrating that data knows exactly what that code represents. But some of it is less structured. Some of it is you answered the questions on a questionnaire, or the nurse checked a checkbox or selected something from a drop-down menu that generate data that's not coded, but is still valuable and important for use. That questionnaire might have been a PHQ-9 depression screen that's really important to have in a structured form and used for monitoring for a population or for quality measures. Claims data, on the other hand, typically less real time. You're waiting for that claim to be adjudicated, but more structured. So you have a trade-off here where you're dealing with data that has taken maybe 90 days, maybe 100 days to get to you, but you have a very structured set of information about that patient as a result of all of the structure introduced by the billing and adjudication process at health plans. And then you also have ADT data, which is really intended to be a small unit of data, very, very rapidly delivered to trigger in-care pathway action. So an admit, discharge, or transfer indicates that that patient just arrived in an acute setting of care, or was transferred, or just was discharged from an acute setting of care. And those are the pieces of information that you want right away, with only the information that you have in that moment, so that you know, do I need to have a nurse call this patient? Do I have a transitions of care management program where I have folks either sending text messages or reaching out on the phone to patients as they're discharged to make sure that they're following up with their PCP, that they're getting a medication reconciliation performed, and the follow-up that they need. Type of data also means how you are connecting to that data. So where did that data come from, the EHR or the health plan, but also how are you getting access to it? Are you tapping into a standards-based connectivity mechanism like an HL7 FHIR API, or are you using a continuity of care document, a CCD? Those are very industry standard, rapid ways to get data, but they have limitations in the depth and breadth of data that you might access. So depending on your use case, you may choose a more in-depth connectivity mechanism, like connecting directly to the database that EHR sits on, or even getting an outbound flat file, an extract from that EHR with a broader set of information that you might get in a CCD, which, after all, was developed to provide data just in between practices. And then what are you also going to need in addition to the main core data sources that you have in order to have the right types of data in the system? And this might look like supplementing EHR data with external labs. It might look like getting a scheduling interface feed if your data source doesn't have future appointments. A lot of the work that we do in population health is preparing for future visits. And so knowing when patients already have appointments scheduled gives you a real leg up. We also think about the timing of data. And this is both when am I getting it? And is that aligned with when I intend to use it? What do I need to calculate with that data when I have it? What is the frequency on which I'm doing that? I might get data daily, for example, but calculate quality measures once a week. How do I ensure that data over time is staying fresh? That I don't have issues with data recency or issues where I've introduced lag into the system? And how do I monitor that over time? So these are the major functions of timing, and they influence how you're going to use that data for population health or for value-based care. So if you're doing a pre-visit planning workflow, you need to be doing that right before the patient comes in for the visit and having the most up-to-date information about whether that patient has had all of their screenings done, their mammograms are up to date, all of their cancer screenings and well visits are all up to date. You want to have that really real time. If you're running a monthly analytics report that you're going to show to your board or to your medical directors, it's less important that that data have yesterday's care on it, and more important that you have the time to vet that information and prepare a really useful analytic deliverable. And the last thing we think about for data quality is really the transformation of that data. What happened from when it was recorded in its originating system to when a user sees that on a report, on a gap list, on a patient chart in a pop health solution? What was everything that happened to that data on that journey? And is it appropriate for the use of that data? Has it been transformed correctly and accurately to the care that was actually delivered in the originating setting? Is it normalized to a common data model? So if I'm collecting data, if I'm an integrated care network with lots of different EHR vendors across all of my affiliate providers, is it being normalized in an EHR agnostic way so that it can have more central utility? And how am I handling different levels of structure? Do I need to leverage a natural language processing type component to get the most use out of that data? Or are my use cases supported very well by the data that is already structured? And I don't need to impose additional structure on the data through the use of tools like natural language processing. And the final layer of transformation is really the thinking about the additional complexities based on calculations across different payers, different contracts. What is your actual population, reportable at-risk population in any given context? And that might look like defining what is the structure and the hierarchy of the providers in my organization? How do individual providers roll up into practices, pods, regions? That might be defining what is in network or out of network for my organization. And is that different for my MSSP contract versus my Humana contract? Do I have multiple tiers of in and out of network? And what are the rules that define of all of the members that I could be measuring or could be managing in a population health perspective? Which ones am I financially accountable for? Which ones am I at risk for? And how do I know that in the data that I have? Because reflecting these reference or metadata attributes is really important for that data actually being useful in a population health or a value-based care context, in addition to the actual raw data that we're working or from that EHR or from that claim. Any questions? Yes. Yeah. So the question was about the trade-off between the timing and the speed of data and also making sure that you've done the right breadth of diligence on data quality. I would say that an organization should start with a quick win value add use case and understand what is the speed and transformation requirement for that specific use case. So if I'm starting with quality measures, for example, it's probably more important that I get the depth of that data correct and then look to speed up how quickly I can deliver it in the future, because a quality measure can touch any different corner of an EHR in terms of what data you need for that use case. If my first use case is calling patients when they get discharged from the hospital to make sure that they're getting directed to the right care pathways and reducing unnecessary readmissions, then I probably value speed of information more than anything else, that I can know the same day that that patient was discharged what happened and take action. And I don't need to know much more data in that circumstance. So I'd say start with the quick wins, those initial use cases that you're looking to target, and base your strategy around that. All right. Thank you very much.